They say the worst kind of betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people who are supposed to protect you. The ones who share your dinner table. The ones who live under the same roof. And that night, when I climbed the stairs to check on my daughter's sleepover, I found betrayal sitting right there, on my son's bed. Let me take you back a little. I'm a father, 42 years old. I've got 2 kids in the house, my daughter, Anya, who's 17, and my stepson, Noah, who's 14. Noah's mom passed away a few years ago, and he's been with me full-time since. He's not my biological son, but he's my kid. That's all that matters. Noah's always been sensitive, not in a weak way, but in the way that makes you realize he's paying attention when others aren't. He's got this quiet strength, this creative soul. He's not antisocial, not even shy really, but he doesn't like when people get too close, too loud, too invasive. When that happens, he kind of shuts down, like his whole self disappears behind the surface. And as a parent, watching that, it's gutting. Anya, on the other hand, is a firecracker. Loud, bright, full of energy, with a crowd of friends always orbiting her like moths to a flame. I love that about her. I love her spark. But sometimes, that spark burns too hot, too careless. So when she asked if she could have 4 friends over for a sleepover that weekend, I said yes. Of course I said yes. But I gave her 2 boundaries. Not restrictions, not complicated rules, just basic respect. First, stay out of Noah's room. Second, keep things quiet after 11, so the rest of us can get some sleep. She said okay. Simple enough, right? But something didn't sit right with me that night. Maybe it was a parent's instinct. Maybe it was just the fact that I know those girls can be loud, wild, and a little oblivious to other people's space. Whatever it was, I found myself heading upstairs around 10 p.m. Not to micromanage, just to check in. When I opened the door to Noah's room, I froze. There they were, all 5 girls, in his room. 2 of them sitting on his bed, one flipping through his sketchbook, like it was some kind of entertainment. Another girl was rifling through his things, and all of them were laughing, giggling. That high-pitched, performative giggle that teenage girls perfect when they're showing off for each other. And in the middle of it all was Noah. He wasn't moving. He wasn't speaking. Just sitting there, completely still, with tears in his eyes, not sobbing, just broken, silent, like something sacred had been cracked open. I felt something rise up in me, not anger exactly, something deeper, protective, primal. I told the girls to get out, immediately, and I told them I was calling their parents. Anya exploded. She said I was embarrassing her, that I was overreacting, that it wasn't a big deal. But I stood firm. I told her she had 2 rules, just 2, and she failed spectacularly. One by one, I called every parent. I told them the truth, that their daughters had invaded a younger boy's space, that they'd gone through his personal belongings, that they'd made him cry. And then I sent them all home. Anya was furious, red-faced, defiant, silent. She stormed to her room. I didn't chase after her. Instead, I sat with Noah. For 20 minutes, we didn't talk much. I just stayed near him while he tried to breathe, tried to come back from whatever storm he'd been pushed into. Eventually, he asked for some time alone, and I respected that. When I got back to Anya's room, the door was closed. She wasn't interested in speaking, so I let the silence sit between us, thick and unfinished. Now, hours later, both kids were asleep, or pretending to be, and I was just left there, sitting with this question that all parents know too well. Did I do the right thing? Because here's the thing. I know teenage girls. I know peer pressure. I know how badly they want to impress each other. I know what it's like to be a 17-year-old with something to prove. But I also know what it's like to be a 14-year-old boy who doesn't feel safe in his own home. And I wasn't about to let that happen. Not under my roof. Some people might say I overreacted, that I should have let it go, that it was harmless fun. But was it? What kind of fun is it when someone is sitting in silence with tears in their eyes while others flip through their most personal belongings? What kind of fun makes a child retreat into themselves? Noah doesn't talk about his mom much, but I know he thinks about her. I know he carries her absence like a shadow. And I know that sometimes, when things get too loud, too close, too unpredictable, he spirals, not dramatically, not outwardly, quietly, internally. That sketchbook? That's not just paper. That's where he puts the things he can't say. And Anya knows that. She's lived with him long enough to know. So maybe what hurts the most isn't that the rule was broken. It's why it was broken. And how little she seemed to care. I know she's angry at me. I know I embarrassed her. But embarrassment is a small price to pay for violating someone's boundaries, for turning your own brother into the night's entertainment. This wasn't just a rule violation. It was a betrayal of trust. And not just my trust, but Noah's. I'm not perfect. God knows, I question myself more than I should, especially when it comes to parenting teenagers, especially when it comes to being a stepdad, walking the tightrope between discipline and connection. But in that moment, I knew what I had to do. I had to show Noah that he mattered, that his space, his feelings, his boundaries, they mattered. Even if it meant upsetting my daughter. Even if it meant making some phone calls I didn't want to make. Even if it meant sitting alone afterward, wondering if I'd just created a rift that wouldn't heal easily. Because sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel easy. It just feels necessary. And that's where I'm at. So, am I the asshole? Was I wrong to draw a line in the sand? To defend the kid who couldn't speak in the moment? To embarrass my daughter in front of her friends? Or was I just being a father? Was I being the adult who says, this is not okay. This stops here. This will not happen in my house. Because if protecting my son's emotional safety makes me an asshole, then maybe I'm okay with that. Maybe I'd rather be the asshole than the parent who stood by and did nothing. Maybe that's what love looks like sometimes. What we just heard wasn't just about a broken house rule. It was about the invisible lines that hold a family together or tear it apart. This story reminds us that boundaries aren't just rules. They are acts of love. They are the quiet walls we build so others can feel safe inside them. And when someone, anyone, violates that, it's not just disrespect. It's a kind of violence, even when it comes with a giggle. Noah didn't have to say a word. His silence said everything. And Anya? She's at a crossroads. Like so many teens, she's balancing ego, identity, and influence. But now, she's also been given a mirror. And what she chooses to see in it, that's where her growth begins. Parents listening to this, remember, the easy road is silence. The hard road is action. But it's on the hard road where respect is born. And for anyone who's ever been a Noah, who's ever had their quiet space invaded, their boundaries ignored, their voice silenced, I hope this story reminded you, you deserve to be protected. So now I ask you, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments below. Share your story. And if you've ever stood up for someone when no one else did, thank you. You are the light in the room. This is AITA Story Vault. See you next time.